Welcome into the half, everybody. My name is Aaron Montgomery, and I'm here to inspire you to fall in love with your business. Cannot wait for the half today, Eric.
Yeah, man. I am Erich Campbell, and you'll find me at erichcampbell.com talking about embroidery and precious little else sometimes, but other times, everything under the sun from business to how to take care of yourself a little bit mentally while we're doing the business. And hey, I think that's all important stuff these days. Uh,
Indeed.
but,
Indeed.
I think that's the thing. We get together every week and just talk and answer questions and recap some of the stuff that we've just done. And this is a good day for it, frankly, because we had a really great host show.
Yeah. Yep. Indeed. I really enjoyed that. And again, thank you very much for the just the idea. I mean, you kind of were the spark there. So we got to give you plenty of credit. What stood out to you as far as like what did you hope when you kind of said, hey, how about this idea? What did you hope that we were going to cover in today's episode?
So today's episode for the Two Regular Guys was about kind of establishing standard operating procedures and training to a degree. And I think, honestly, the stuff I wanted to cover, frankly, it's not just about, hey, SOPs are important and SOPs, standard operating procedures. A short way of just saying, hey, training, knowing what we do the same way every time.
Training.
A method, a recipe, whatever you want to call it. The thing is, I think we all know they're important. I think that we don't always talk about it in the same way that some people should talk about it, because we do things like say SOPs and we're like, boy, we're make sure you get those SOPs together because we have to meet our KPIs. I mean, we start doing this like 3-letter BS, and yes, I'm being extra rude about it. There are moments where in a real business, talking about like lean operations and
TSP reports, Eric. I'm thinking about the TSP reports.
TPS.
TPS.
Office
that's right.
space.
TPS.
Get those TPS reports to me on Saturday.
Sorry.
But here's the thing. There's a time where we talk about SOPs and we're a little too in the weeds, or people think that acting very commercial or having this kind of bland commercial speak that we do, this, techno corpo speak, is going to make things sound more important. But I think a lot of people glaze over at it, and it's really important for us to go, hey, what this is know how you do something, do it regularly, repeatably, in a way that makes sense for your business, that increases your efficiency, and that you can pass on to someone or train someone with. I mean, this is really, it doesn't have to be super technical. People, when they hear SOPs, I think they think there's some, like you said, there's a form that they have to fill out a certain way, and that's what's important. I'm like, just like you said during the show, and we were joking around with Terry of like, hey, your yellow legal pad, the junior yellow legal pad is fine. Writing things down, analyzing them every so often, and checking on what needs to be happening to change those things, that's important. So the standard operating procedures thing, yes, it's important to have them. I'm not saying at all. And also all the stuff I made some jokes about, processes, and I'm being a jerk and saying, hey, we have all these programs and we talk about it. And, you and I do the same thing too. Sometimes we'll talk about systems and we'll go, oh, like a Kanban system. And we talk about how we're moving cards around and organizing things, when frankly, the system itself is not the critical object. It's not the system of how we organize these procedures. It's just making sure that we are conscious about how we're doing things, taking notice of where things are falling apart, listening to the people who are literally touching the garments. If we are someone who's working with, working with people under us, or if we are part of a team, listening to the people around us, and then, documenting things so that we can analyze them and kind of make sure we're on the right track. It's less complicated than it sounds, probably more complicated than some folks think. So there's a split where you're like, it can get complicated writing this down. It can be difficult to get like a good at these things, because it really is a communication thing. We're trying to figure out how to pass this to someone who doesn't know what we know and still have them understand it. That can be a little hard. But the concept of it, I think, sometimes gets tied up, like I said, in this corpo speak kind of stuff. And I said BS earlier. I'm not saying that, these operating procedures aren't important, but a lot of the companies we're looking at are small to mediums. We may have sub 10 people in many shops. In fact, I know lots of little shops.
Sub 1 people in certain cases.
1 person, 5 people, 8 people. And then I know another segment of shops that are under 25. And that means that they're not going to think of this stuff, especially the small. The sub 10 people shops are going to think, what? I just tell everybody how to do it. They're watching me do it. Why do they need to know? But we talked about all these reasons about why even solopreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That.
Yeah. And that was what was so important for me to try to get across to folks is it's not necessarily, like you said, the finished product, the acronym, the TSP, the SOP, the KPI,
sure.
I'm going to do other acronyms that are inappropriate. So we're just going to leave it there. Whatever those are, that's great. Right. And it's good to have that. I mean, that can be kind of what you're aiming for, but the reality is the actual value is in the process of it. It's in the getting just the sheer fact that you've taken this moment, right? If you spent 30 seconds right now thinking about your business's processes, that's a win compared to just 100%, I'm in the weeds all the time, 100% of the time. Yeah. And I think that's what I want to try to inspire people to understand is saying, hey, it's the actual process. It's the act of the thinking about my business in a logical way that's going to bring the improvement, not the finished piece, not the SOP specifically. And then also take away that fear of, like you said, Eric, we think it's really complicated. It's got to be this certain form and yada, yada, yada. It really is as simple as get your junior yellow legal pad out. And this is what I keep coming back to over and over again. Is the more I look at what are the steps that we need to take to be successful, is the concept that success is actually very simple. That the process of it, the things that you do can be very simple. It's the execution of it that's not always easy because it's counterintuitive to the way that we grow up. It's counterintuitive to the way that, because if, not to get too deep and philosophical here, Eric, but society's built in such a way that most of us are trained to do what we're told by other people. And a small business is not that way. Nobody's going to tell you what to do. It's your thing. And if you're sitting there waiting for somebody to tell you what to do, you're going to be sitting there waiting for a long time. So anyhow, like I said, I could go way deep on that.
No, I mean, I think you have a point there. And honestly, the other thing is, we have a couple of things that are you. I mean, you always have a point.
I'm kidding,
but let's put it this way. A couple different things. Number one, what gets measured gets managed. We've all heard that before. And this is part of doing that, right? This is part of the issues. And I see Justin's right on it. BRB, I got to get the SOP ASAP. I got you. Stat, my man. Stat. Get that done.
GMTA, Justin. Is that right? Did I get that right? Great minds think alike. Okay, good. Sorry.
Good Suffice it to say, what gets measured gets managed, and so this is part of the looking at the business. Plus, I think I'm going to say, and Ramona, who is with us today, she already said good morning. I'm just going to say this to you guys too. She was saying it was important for her to teach because in describing a thing, she started to understand it better herself. And perhaps, and I'll just add that as a corollary, you might also find holes in your knowledge you don't know you have. In describing how you're doing something, you're like, well, yeah, I do it this way, but do I know why? Is there something I should change? Because a lot of us feel like, oh yeah, we're doing it. It's working. I know how it works. It's not a big deal. But if we go to write it down, and in the process of writing it down, which I really think this is important too, rehearse it, actually go through the process. If you're someone doing it, writing down an SOP, go do the thing. Like take a job, do the thing, and write while you're there. Like write some notes while you're doing the thing, and actually document the process itself. Whether it's whether it's an embroidery job or whatever, it doesn't matter. All these different stages up to and including that stuff can be important. Document the thing as it's happening, and then go back, and you may find you're going through it. Go, wow, you know what? I feel like I keep going back and forth to this place in the shop, and you might even find that it's not an SOP thing you change. It's not an operating procedure thing you change. But you might change your shop layout. You might change your workflow. You might figure out that there's and I hate to say this has happened to me before. There's one person who is the point failure in a stream of information or in a business stream where that person is constantly, either it's something they're doing or the way they're being asked to work is constantly causing loops and reversions and problems. They might not even know it. You might not even know it. And that's the sad thing is you might not even know this is going on. They might not know it's causing that problem, or you may have assigned tasks to someone that don't make sense for either what they do or where they are in that chain. And here's the thing that I'm gonna embarrass myself on. I used to write old school flowcharts. And that's the other thing too. People are like, really? You're going to go to the process? You're going to flowchart your freaking orders? Absolutely. A flowchart.
Who doesn't love a good flowchart?
I mean, I don't. I'm going to be honest. I don't love a good flowchart. I don't love any flowcharts. But at the same time, I'm like, wow, a flowchart though, if you have to make yourself write one, all of a sudden you're like, man, why do we keep on looping back into this one stage? Why? And also, if you're a visual person, which a lot of us are in this business, rather than just writing steps and kind of trying to figure it out, if you bubble this thing out into a flow chart and the arrows keep pointing back and forth to the same spot, you're gonna be like, boy, I can't ignore the fact that there's something weird about my workflow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, you talk about the flow chart again, back to, doesn't need to be all that complicated. We say the word flow chart and people are like, oh my gosh, I've got to, no, like a flow chart literally for me is getting a blank wall, getting a bunch of Post-it notes, writing down what the step is, putting the Post-it note up there. And when there gets to a point where you have to make a decision, you make the Post-it note a diamond. All you do is turn it, right? Yep. And then if this, then that, if this and that, and then you flow off of that. And that's a flow chart. And it can be that simple, because when you can put that all up on the wall and then, oh, yep, I see where this, problem. And again, like you said, Eric, people in that process, you might not even know, you're just too close to it until you do have a chance to look back on it and say, okay, go do the thing though too. That was the other part of it. Yeah.
Well, and frankly, this is one of those times where, cliches are cliches for a reason, phrases come back for a reason. You can't see the forest for the trees. This is one of those times, if you're working in a shop, or if you started a shop and you've built it up to a point, this is the one I see at consulting with people. The one I've seen the most is someone builds a small business, maybe a 3-bedroom business, maybe a garage shop. They're doing it. Maybe one other family member's involved. By the time they hit that 5 to 10 people range of size, or let's say they're planning to get there, they get to this point where it's just like, I don't know, let me just do that. And they've taken on everything in the world. The processes are all built on stuff they did when they had, one machine, one station, and they were just trying to get by. Even some of their technical processes, the way they use stabilizer and the way embroidery works, that they did all these things while they were learning and haven't revisited them in a long time. And it's often this stage where also when you're in a family business, and if you're in a family business that works well, we've heard of some that don't always go well, but if you're in a family business where you jive pretty well, your communication style is probably learned. Like you guys are already on the same wavelength. Start bringing in non-family people and the communication style might break down and you don't know. Like you're just not aware that your communication's not making everything as easy as it could be. And you need to correct that stuff. That's the thing. When you start out, you do things to just get by, and then they become ensconced as processes. Just because you haven't written an SOP doesn't mean you don't have one. You've got a habit. I'll tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
You have a way you're doing stuff. It just may or may not be useful. Or at least as efficient as it could be. Or definitely not documented.
You're definitely not documented. Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah. I am one of those people where, and I'll also fess up, because I talked about people being single point failures. I am like the king of single point failures. I take on too many tasks and then I don't teach everybody else how to do them. And then when I get hit by a bus, people are calling from 5 departments because I've got my finger in too many pies. Like I have definitely put myself in the flow chart. Every time I see a hole in a flow chart, I think that I fit in that hole. And then I make myself fit in that hole.
I can do that. Yeah. I love it. No, you totally
do.
That's
the problem. That's the problem. I mean, it's a great thing to do until something bad happens. Yeah. Until there's a failure, until I get sick, until something happens to me, or and I hate to say this, in previous jobs, until I leave that job.
Yeah.
And that people are unhappy that I've left because there's something that's missing. Now, it's not every job I've ever been in, but there's a lot of people who do that. And I think I certainly started my career that way.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Teaching can help us fix that. Writing standard operating procedures can help us fix that. And also it just gives us a time to reflect on whether or not what we're doing is working.
Yeah, exactly. Well, do we want to take a little more time? We can kind of go a couple other areas here. Or do we want to move forward yet?
Well, if you got a couple more things for sure.
Yeah,
I think I kind of hit it, but if you got a couple more things, I certainly have a couple comments.
I think we can kind of continue it on, and also want to get these comments in here. Ramona says, I teach because I want to learn. Oh, and to share. And then Justin says, absolutely. The more I've gotten into teaching, it makes me think about the process and look closer to details and have developed better ways. I guess the thing that I wanted to kind of take another stab at here, you brought this up already, and it kind of sparked me going, let's go a little bit deeper on that. You said do the thing, right? Do the, you've got to get out there and then do it and verify that it's better, or try make sure that, because so when I teach this workflow process in seminars and stuff like that, the example I give is of a race car pit crew. And I'm starting to turn into Terry, where you've probably heard the story before, and I'm going to only have 8 of them, and but the reality is they work. And so if you think about it like a race car pit crew, right, that's what we're trying to do in all the tasks that are working in our business type tasks, right? Yeah. Whether that's the actual production, customer inquiries, whatever, ordering the product, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If I look at that like a race car pit crew, every second matters. And so I need to go as quickly as I possibly can, but I also have to get it exactly right. Otherwise, in a race car pit crew scenario, that driver's life could be on the line. If we missed a lug nut and that tire falls off at 200 some odd miles an hour, nobody's happy about that, right? Nobody wants that to happen. Yep. Now, fortunately for us, right, it's only a t-shirt, and other than getting stuck with a needle, nobody dies.
True.
But it's our business. It feels like somebody dies when a major catastrophe happens. And so you've got to figure out, okay, well, how did they get so good at it then, right? They don't go, okay, here's what we're going to do. You do this. Like they start with that. They determine what their standard operating procedure is going to be. But then they don't go, okay, cool, I've got this great document. Now I'm going to show up at the race and just hope it works out. Right? They do the thing. They practice that, right? They see where those new points of failures are once they've kind of addressed that. So I think I just wanted to bring that in, this concept of making sure you actually do the thing. It's one thing to kind of look closer and say, yep, that's great, and I've learned a little bit more. But is it reality, right? Are we not making a new problem that we're not aware of? So any additional thoughts on that, Eric?
I don't know if I have anything to add, just to agree. I mean, yeah, it's all right. It's just how it is. I mean, I think we've kind of covered a lot, but I think it just makes sense to kind of think of all of this together and say, all right, and it applies to more than just the internal procedures. I guess here's the other thing I'm going to say. We talked about doing the thing, and we've talked about, mapping it out. The other thing I'm going to say is this is also a good thing to do from the customer side. If you're in software term world, it's kind of like dog fooding. Go through one of your orders this way too. I think this is a worthwhile thing as a customer, including paying for it. And this may even mean having to do a charge on your card, and you're paying the credit card coming for nothing if you're doing this online, especially. But I think that's another thing where
worth that 3%.
Totally worth 3% for of one order. Do your smallest order. Who cares? Go through that process from the customer side as well. I think that even though we're talking about standard operating procedures, that you will also have operating procedures that come up as far as customer service, things like that. And we usually talk about, and today we talk a lot about process stuff. We talked about production, because Terry took as always, he jumps in there and jumps into production because he does a lot of production stuff. So it was a totally good thing for him to do. I just think that we also forget there's customer service procedures, there's contact procedures, there's
really good point.
How do we deal with upcoming sales and marketing and stuff like that. And forward and on beyond that, there's things that are more than just your production procedures that are going on. And I think it's worthwhile to think about those things. So like I said, not to add more to it, but the concept of doing the thing, documenting the thing, and then putting together a procedure, you can also do that from the other side, even though there's nothing for you to do as the client necessarily. It does help you figure out client customer expectations and what you need to ask them to make sure they're doing the part that they need to do, and what that means to the input. I mean, now we're just talking about general workflow, but workflow and order flow are really similar, and they integrate with each other and they inform each other. So it's worthwhile to put that into that, into the concept of, hey, let's take a look at what our procedures are and map that out.
Yep. All right. So Eric, it's weekly win time. So this is an opportunity to just anything. There's no judgment here. What is your weekly win? I have no idea whose turn it is. So you tell me if you've got something, go. Otherwise, I've got something.
Why don't you go first? You go first.
All right.
You got something rolling.
I don't know if I took this last time or not too, but so the thing, my weekly win, we are through 4 nights. So this week has been the 5 keys of marketing over at our success group. And so last night was night 4. Tonight will be night 5 of this 5-week workshop. And the feedback I've gotten so far has been fantastic. So I'm feeling really proud of what we've done. I've got a couple people here that actually have been in Barb arena and whatnot. And so I think we're making progress. I think we're kind of getting into. So last night we talked about putting our plan together, and tonight we're going to wrap it all up with implementing it and figuring out how to measure our metrics so we have the best fourth quarter we can have. And so I'm just proud of what we've done as a community there, and I can't wait to hear all the successes after people put this into play. So that's my weekly win, sir.
I love it. I love it. I can't wait to hear what people like the reception will be too. I think it's exciting. You know, it's exciting when you start anything, but it's also
when you do something that you're proud of and you get to put it out there. I think
that's so cool.
You know, it's really cool to hear. And even if it's like, I didn't really like it, that's okay. I get it. I need that feedback too to understand how to continue to make it better. So,
we have a good one from Mike. I want to go ahead and bring this in first.
Yep.
Mike says, we have passed the initial approval for the first of 3 military badges we were working on, plain thread versions. We are now producing these sealed samples, which become the bar that we and anybody who follows must meet. Man, that is awesome. So, Mike, absolutely congratulations. Especially, I know, having done, contract stuff for any kind of officials, whether it's like city government or military police, which I've done quite a few myself. That's a big deal to get the approvals, to get everybody to sign off, especially military, where you're going to be the kind of the standard to meet. That is a big win. So huge, Mike. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, good job.
And by the way, everybody share your wins.
Yes.
Everybody who's on live, please share your wins if you have them. And honestly, you've got one. You just haven't said it yet.
Yep. So we need about 15 more, you guys. So keep them coming. What other wins do you guys have? That's a really good point, Eric. And then everybody's saying great wins and kudos. So
nice.
That's the other side of this, guys. We're celebrating together. Rising tide lifts all boats. Remember that.
Absolutely.
Eric, what about you?
All right. So here's what I'll say for my current win. I've got other wins that I'm kind of happy about. The one that I'm going to talk about today is a smaller one that's not embroidery related directly. Working on some e-commerce stuff. And so 2 things. First, working on some e-commerce stuff, and had finally got approval on content and got a product launch that I've been waiting to launch for a long time. So that was very cool. And the cool, and I'll go ahead and say it. The cool thing was, though we had this product out digitally, this is an Brilliance thing. You guys know that's where I work. But we didn't get to put Merrily, which is our kind of automated patch software. We didn't get to put that out as a physical copy for some time. Now it's available on Amazon, and it's protected by transparency, and it's got content and everything. There's more coming. I'm going to improve the content. This is kind of a rolling launch at the same time. Initial content's up, accepted, working, happy to have it all put together and out there for the public. So very cool to see, and physical copies ready in the DC. So that's nice. It's the first initial small order. Happy to see that going. So very cool.
Good job, man. Congrats.
A lot of work to get there for such a little thing, but there's a lot of other stuff behind it. And by the way, SOPs, I'm actually working on SOPs because this is a process that has to be replicated later, and it was a big deal to get it started. So it's something cool.
There you go. Love it.
And other little win, I have a product that I'm working on that's not out yet. And I just keep getting signals over and over and over that I'm on the right track and that other people are looking for it. And that is always a lovely thing to see. So I'm happy that it's something that I thought about like 6 months ago is, as I'm getting closer to the finish line, is actually something people want. And I'm seeing people searching and asking for similar things that don't exist. And so always happy with that. Those are my 2 big ones for the week. Lots of challenges, but I'll take those wins.
Yep, definitely. Awesome. Good job. All right. So got another win in here from Marianne. She says, my win is getting a contract to embroider for Trading Posts in New Mexico.
Nice. Yeah. Hope to see your work there. That's awesome.
Yeah,
very cool.
Definitely. Excellent.
Thanks, Marianne.
All right, Joe. Good to see you, Joe.
Huge.
Super awesome to get to meet Joe in person. We didn't get as much time together as I'd hoped, but weekly win. Got to hang and spend time with Aaron, Terry, and Eric at Fort Worth. Had a great time speaking about nerdy fashion techniques. Oh man, it was so cool. It was just like
great class.
Yeah, really good class, Joe. And I think I loved the way you it was nerdy, but you made it to where people kind of, because obviously I don't know anything about what you guys were talking about. For some reason, that was not covered in my 15 minutes of embroidery experience. The advanced techniques. But
the stuff
I
that
understood it,
Joe's
man. It
doing.
made sense what he was talking about. I had to bounce a little bit early, but in the time that I got there, I'm like, this makes sense. I actually am excited about this, and I don't do this, so that was cool.
Well, like I said, look for more with me and Joe coming up, and
Nice.
good friends of the show here too. There's more coming up because I've been a big not a contributor. I'll say I've been a cheerleader for Joe, getting out and teaching because he's got a lot of stuff that's very interesting that he's out doing. And honestly, he was doing fashion stuff, A&F. He was doing stuff that we in the logo left chest world just weren't doing a lot of. I tried to stretch into it. I'll say some of my clients didn't love me stretching the way I did. At the same time, getting to see other people who really know it and seeing Joe, who really knows what he's doing, getting out there, getting his feet wet in kind of that stream and being any part of that with him was really cool. Get to be there or as a witness to see that was really cool. So great work. Not like Joe needs me to tell him. He knows how to do all this stuff, but you did a great job. So awesome.
Yeah,
job.
really good stuff. All right. So bring more weekly wins in. But I saw a challenge already. So Ramona says my boat got a hole punched in it. Just all tell me it can be fixed. So everything can be fixed. I mean, it had to be made to begin with, so it can be fixed, but at what level that is, it'll depend on but Ramona, just if I actually had a boat when I didn't, my family did, my dad did, had a boat when I was younger, and it got a huge hole punched in the side of it. We had it docked in a storm, and the big houseboat next to us didn't anchor out the back end. So it was legitimately a hole in the side of the boat, and it was fixed. So there we go.
I'm just wishing you well. I know how that feels. I'm the kind of person who doesn't do well with that kind of stuff sometimes. I'm like, I don't always handle these setbacks the way I wish I could.
And then Cindy said, I did not get enough time to visit with y'all. Yeah, it was kind of
lucky.
Quick in and out. So you're very welcome, Joe. Thank you for doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah.
For
sharing Thank you for being out there and sharing, man. For real.
Absolutely. Ramona, probably with the right amount of money, they fix boats up here all the time as people can't stay off the rocks. So there you go. Okay.
Oof. Yep.
All right. What other challenges, things that you're working on, anything like that's out there, or weekly wins, guys?
Keep them up for a little bit.
I can start naming names if you guys want me to, but I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
Jump on some wins if you can. We'd love to hear more. That we want. If you're not getting celebrated somewhere else, let us do it.
Yep, exactly. So, anything that stands out for challenges for you, Eric, or
I'll just say this: living in an old house, not always awesome.
So just like Ramona's boat, it can be fixed, buddy. It's okay.
It just depends on how much money it's going to cost and how much disruption is going to happen. We'll find out. I'm not very pleased. I have another old house problem. I will not regale anybody with it, but I'm about done with that right now.
All right. Well, it does come to pass, man. It'll
get better, but boy, not my
at the end of the day, you've got more decisions than just the one that you could make, and not that it would be fun, but hey.
Oh, I know.
You've got equity in that house. I'm sure there's one with less problems too out there. So
there may be something, we'll find out. But I think that we're at the level of if I want the equity back, I probably got to make some more repairs. Anyway.
Well, just trading it out for one with less problems for a little bit.
We'll have to see.
All right.
Suffice to say, everybody has these problems. I'm not unique, but I've been an apartment dweller too long in between the time that I got the house, and it's been a ride.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm thinking. So actually, we've got company coming to join us for Thanksgiving this year, and the guy is he for a living he flips houses. That's what they do. And so our guest bathroom has got some problems, and I'm sitting there going, okay, do I fix it before they come, or do I tell him he needs to fix it so he can stay here? So
oh no,
we'll see. So house problems do exist. These things do happen for sure.
Yes, they do.
All right, Frank. Well, we'll look forward to your report on how we did here on the half in the replay. And,
there we go. We got Rena with a win, which was always good.
Oh, one more win. Okay. Big win is catching up on jobs from getting back from Fort Worth. Good job, Rena. Nice job.
Okay, so here's the secret I want you to tell everybody, Aaron. How do you get back from a trade show and just get right back into it and it be right where you need to be?
Yeah, just immediately jump back in. So here's what I would do. There's the win, Eric. We get to entertain ourselves. Hopefully you guys a little bit too. Just take action. That's the answer.
I was like, as if there were a secret to get back off the trade shows.
There is not. Great. Have a great week, everybody. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next week.
See you next time, folks.